Lies, lies, lies. And they know at MSNBC that you're not going to watch this video. You're not going to watch anything else to the average viewers. So they can lie openly. All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Hit that like and subscribe. You know I do it for you, and let's party. Oh, look, we got Morty as a co-host too. He's been hiding all day. He's been scared. But anyway, so we are here for a beef brewing. There is a beef brewing. So obviously, you guys know that affirmative action was struck down by the Supreme Court. And Joy Reid of MSNBC has been calling out Vivek Ramaswamy, who's been talking about affirmative action, kind of took some wind out of his sails for the campaign. But they've been, she has been going hard at him, and he threw down the gauntlet. So let's check it out. Shout out to Melted Mind Media, to Indie Film, and to Liltos for getting the secret word in the last video. If you'd like your own shout out, wait to the end of this video. There might be a secret word. All you got to do is put it in the comments and you'll get your own shout out. Let's get to it.
You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I joined him.
So if you can't, if you're just listening, they put up some tweets from Vivek or from Ro Khanna about Vivek. One from Ro Khanna saying Don Lemon was right. As an Indian American, I was profoundly embarrassed by Vivek lecturing a black man about black history. That's not what happened. The truth is that the Black Civil Rights Movement paved the way for 1965 Immigration Act so that Vivek's family or mine could come to America. Both things can be true. And then two tweets from Vivek saying, I reject the toxic idea that you can't engage in a debate with a black man about American history if you're not black. Yeah! Absolutely. Absolutely. And responding to Ro Khanna, I don't think you actually believe this nonsense either. And you're just saying what you're, quote, supposed to. The tides are shifting fast. Wake up, man. And he goes on to say, in the same breath, Ro Khanna says he agrees with Don Lemon that I can't talk to a black man about civil rights history because I'm not black. Then he proceeds to say Indian Americans must express gratitude about the black civil rights movement. What? Which is it? The reality, they can't cope with the fact that black Americans secured rights and guaranteed their freedoms through the Second Amendment. It just doesn't fit their narrative. And he's absolutely right. The fact is that he wasn't trying to lecture Don Lemon about black history. He was saying that one of the big positives from the civil rights movement was securing gun rights for black people. And then Don Lemon flipped out.
In Prime at CNN, Don Lemon, he's boasting about getting him fired. He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president.
I mean... Yeah. That got me. That's all you need to get me. Get Don Lemon fired, and that's a big feat.
Your thoughts on him, because you've been back and forth with him online.
You know, when he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name. We disagree. Hopefully, he makes a good showing or does something.
Oh, okay. So this is I didn't even know who Ro Khanna was, but apparently this is the guy who's been going back and forth with Vivek. But Joy Reid is bringing him on to talk instead of bringing on Vivek.
And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy.
Bingo. It definitely was embarrassing for Don Lemon, which is why he got fired.
Phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. Yeah. I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian
lies. And they know at MSNBC that you're not going to watch this video. You're not going to watch anything else to the average viewers. So they can lie openly like that.
Indian American community in this country holds a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the Civil Rights Movement, the 1965 Immigration Reform Act wouldn't have passed. My parents wouldn't have come to America. Before that, basically, immigrants from Asia and Africa were not allowed to come. It was highly discriminatory.
It's really ironic because neither his nor my parents could have come here under the rules before the Civil Rights Act, before that 65 Civil Rights Bill. But he's...
So, did he ever say that was the case? Did he ever fight against civil rights? All he said was that part of civil rights was ensuring that black people have their Second Amendment rights. That's all that he said.
acting as if the NRA somehow saved African Americans in the Civil War. The NRA wasn't even formed until 1871.
That's probably why he didn't bring it up, right?
Well, he doesn't know anything about African American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War, because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get Black people the right to bear arms.
And again, just more blatant lies. But let's go to what Vivek actually says in response to this. So we have a clip here, and let's see what he's got to say.
Scott case, Chief Justice Taney held for the Supreme Court that Black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns.
Mm-hmm.
After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country were actually passed to stop Black people from owning guns.
What?
These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set, the heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing. So shortly after that exchange, Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually,
that's a good point. They brought him in as an Indian man, and they're talking about Native Americans, and they're talking about immigration. They're trying to pull the old switcheroo when that's not actually really what the beef is all about.
Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history. But criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe Black Americans a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, I didn't really know what.
So I thought it was remarkable that here's a TV host, supposedly who wants to engage in open debate.
Supposedly.
About my views on this post-Civil War history.
You'd think.
He's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly, so I made an offer. Said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get?
The gauntlet thrown.
Silence.
And what do we get? Crickets. Nothing. And we know why. We know that it's because Joy Reid does not have the capacity to debate this man. We know that all she can do is throw out, the BS that she has. We know that.
Left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually.
The modern left does.
Cower and fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate.
Bingo!
Yeah, we'll get something like, well, you can't platform those kinds of ideas because this, that, and the other. Why not? If they're so wrong and they're so easy to debunk, just debunk them.
Now, more recently, she was spouting off about affirmative action after the Supreme Court came down with its ruling, saying that she would not have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action.
Facts. If you agree, you will definitely find a home at the Indian Jesus Discord server where the party never ends. That's right, 24/7. We are in there hanging out. And after every single live stream, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, we go in there for an after panel. We are not stuck behind your keyboard, but you're actually on camera or on screen. You don't have to be cammed up if you don't want, but we have a grand old time. Come and join us.
I believe her. I think that's probably true. But then she also complained that she was judged negatively by her peers because she got in based on affirmative action. I actually said that that's wrong. It's wrong to Black Americans. It's wrong to Asian Americans or white Americans who are discriminated against.
Which is why we shouldn't have affirmative action in the first place.
But it's even unfair to Black Americans, many of whom I went to school with, who would have gone in meritocratically anyway. It's unfair that they're judged that way.
Because they'll never know. You'll never be able to know if you are a diversity hire or applicant or whatever, or if you are based on the merits. And that's where this idea of you don't deserve it or the insecurity around, do I deserve to be here? That's where it all comes from.
So I said so. And then Joy Reid, again, classic pattern, talking about me instead of to me, says that, oh, Vivek Ramaswamy also wouldn't have gotten into Harvard, but for affirmative action.
What?
The whole thing, wait a minute. The whole thing about affirmative action is that not only is it throttling Black people, but it's also slowing down and oppressing, legitimately, actually oppressing Asian Americans or Asian people in general, including Indians.
That is a lie, and it reflects a shocking combination of gall and ignorance failing to pay attention to the fact that that case argued in front of the Supreme Court was brought on behalf of Asian Americans. That includes Indian Americans.
Yep.
Who are systematically discriminated against.
This is the one time where you actually can use systematic oppression. But of course, it doesn't fit your narrative, so nah.
Penalized by affirmative action, which rewards Black and Hispanic Americans. So that combination of ignorance but self-confidence embodies the modern left. And
like my dad said, you can't be wrong and strong. You can't be wrong and strong. When you're not sure what you're talking about, then you can't be that strong about it. If you're strong about something, you better be sure about what you're talking about. Let's just finish up hearing what he's got to say.
The sad part of it is, folks like Joy Reid, again, they have utter, total, apparent comfort with spewing falsehoods and doing it to only the silos and the echo chambers that agree with them. Totally comfortable to talk about me at length and all the reasons why I'm supposedly wrong, when in fact I'm grounded in fact. But what I say is, okay, if I believe in my views and you believe in yours, I'm open to having it out in the open. That's where I talk to Chuck Todd or Don Lemon. Go on the Breakfast Club. I show up and believe in open dialogue and debate. That's how we get to truth. It's a shame to see that some of the leading commentators for the modern left, when push comes to shove, really just go back into their caves to hide from the truth, wallowing in their own fear.
And I mean, is that surprising at all? Is that surprising at all? We know that this is how the left wing establishment works. We know that. So what do you guys think about Vivek? What do you think about Joy? What do you think about this beef brewing? Are we going to get a big debate, or is she just going to weasel her way out of it? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out. Once again, I am your host, Lutch, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.